watched the Corpus Christi game. What kind of jumped out at you as things you need to work on this week?
Yeah, like more than anything, just like the turnovers. Like when you put yourself in that position and you turn the basketball over, you kind of negate some of the good things that you're doing. Like we shot the ball pretty well in the first half. You don't turn it over. You probably take the game, out of contention, and obviously we didn't because it was a possession game with 8 minutes to go, 7 minutes to go, whatever that stat was. So I think that's the first and foremost, but I think it's also like a good lesson for them that you have 7 turnovers in both of your first games, so you think that's okay, we're going to be good, and you're never okay in that area. You're always working on taking care of the ball, you're always working on rebounding. You never get to where you got that figured out and you're going to be fine, even though sometimes numbers will say that. It can rear its ugly head, and that's not just our team, that's every team in college basketball, throughout the years. So when you turn it over and you allow, I think we allowed 11 layups at one time, probably more during the course of the game. So you're giving them layups and you're getting some transition layups. We didn't have our guy be a safety a couple times. They just got to run out and the guy just didn't go back on D. He went and rebounded instead. And so you just can't have that loss of concentration. And then defensively, we got to do a better job of containing the dribble. We got to do a better job of keeping the ball out of the paint. I think that's when a lot of good things are going to happen for the opposition, is when they're living on the paint, whether that's deep post-ups or drives or offensive rebounds or sometimes just sacrificial cuts, right? Somebody's diving or somebody's cutting really hard to draw people in and they throw it out. Then you get into a bad closeout, then they drive you, and now you're in scramble mode and you're just helping. So you got to have your defense built to help, but you can't live in help. If you're just living in help and helping all the time and nobody can contain the dribble, you're making the game really hard on yourself. So we got to do a better job of staying out of rotations, but yet once it does happen, being aware of what's going on and just simply keeping the ball in front of us.
From an offensive execution perspective, how's your screening?
Our screening's okay. Sometimes we don't wait on some things, and you got to be able to wait. It just depends on if you're screening on the ball, you're screening away from the ball. We screen away from the ball a lot, and sometimes when you watch a game, you'll watch the basketball, you don't watch things away, so you don't really notice it. Then when you watch tape, you obviously notice it, right? But we put a lot of time in on screening, whether you're switching, not switching, however you're handling the ball screen stuff. So they're fully aware going into the game what's probably going to happen and how we're going to go about it. But anytime something shifts, it's just basketball. You just have to adjust to what they're doing. But it's coming along. It's not something that, you ask somebody what they're working on in June and July. Hey, what are you working on? You know what, I've been screening my ass off here in open gym, and coach is going to play me. But guys that screen and guys that rebound and defend, it helps their cause. It helps our cause.
Braden Smith's workload on offense. Is there a concern about sustainability for the whole year to do as much as he does?
No, he's fine. He's perfectly fine. He could play another game after the game. It's one of those things where that's mental. If that's something that bothers him, he's allowing that to bother him. It's the physical piece of it is what you work towards. The one thing that jumps out when you're a high school kid and you come and play in college is how hard you have to play. But every 4 minutes there's a timeout. And then we got our timeouts too, and you got halftime. It's a hell of a concept. It's hey, play hard for 4 minutes, get a breather. Play hard for 4 minutes. Well, he's getting ready to go and practice, and he's going to practice hard for 2 straight hours. And we're not sitting around calling media timeouts. He can get a drink when he wants. But we're going to practice, and we're going to be there. So learn to use your energy, but just keep working on your stamina. Keep playing on both ends, because that's what great players do. But he didn't pick the ball up. He picked the ball up probably 10 to 20% of the time. I'm probably being a little generous there. So Jakari can do it. CJ can do it. Cam and actually Miles do it at times. They go pick the ball up. So he does it a little bit, but not a lot. So it kind of shows you how good of a player he is, because his numbers are off the charts, and he didn't have that good of a game.
You're asking for more toughness or physicality, whatever word you want to use, for Daniel right now.
Right.
How do guys like him, especially first few games, how do they get that mindset before they've had that physical growth that you're expecting over?
Yeah, well, he's played. He played high-level prep school basketball. He's played USA basketball. Like he played on the EYBL circuit. So he's played against real players his age. Now it's the part of playing against real players that are older than you. And you're going to have some issues, but just embrace the physicality of the game and don't give into it. Keep fighting it. Keep working on getting lower. Keep working on hitting first, and then making a play. Like sometimes guys don't understand. Like you're hitting to be in a better position so you can make a play. You're not hitting for the sake of hitting. Whether you're on a line in football and you're hitting somebody as an offensive lineman, you're either pass protecting or it's your run game. Like there's a scheme to what you're doing. You got to be able to be physical, but you got to also do what you're supposed to from a scheme. And that's his whole deal, like being able to hit or get hit and still get the rebound, hit or get hit and still get the ball. So like just the functionality of it's really important.
Just one of the.
Go ahead.
I was looking at, did he? I can't remember. Did he come here and then go away for the USA basketball thing he just did, and then come back, or did he go there first? I think.
I think he went there first.
Okay, I just
But
couldn't
don't
remember if
ask
you
me.
noticed any difference between
I'm the
before,
last dude to
before
ask.
and after that.
He went there first.
Yeah,
went
that's
there
what I thought.
first, yeah. Act like I'm on the committee or something.
Is this one of the better shooting teams you've ever coached? 3-point wise.
Yeah, they got to be better than second in the country. Because last year we were second in the country, right? So, and that's what like the previous year after that, like you got to understand our top volume shooters, Fletcher, Braden, Mason, Lance, 3 of those 4 were with us the year before, and we were, we didn't have a very good number, right? And everybody said, hey, you got to improve your shooting. And, those guys were good shooters that just didn't shoot well. Obviously I've watched them and been around them. So I think that's it. One of the things that I really work towards with those guys is like improve somebody's shooting by being a good decision maker. Like if you're constantly catching the ball at your ankles or at your head, go out there and shoot 100 shots and let somebody throw you where you catch 100 at your ankles, 100 at your head, and 100 right here, and you're a good shooter. Now if you're an awful shooter, it's going to be horrendous. Because people don't make very many shots where they're tagging people out at second base or they're catching the ball over their head. So we work really hard and try to stop them. Hey man, put the ball in the money. Put it there every single time, because you're feeding into their rhythm or you're taking them out of the rhythm. What good shooters will do is get out of rhythm and then try to get back into rhythm and still shoot it because they're hungry as hell. You know what I mean? They want to shoot the basketball. And you've normally dropped their percentage at least 10 to 15% by that bad pass. So working towards being better shooters, putting in more time, going game speed, but also the decision maker is key. From now on, watch when people have to catch the ball by their ankles or jump up in the air. It's normally a rebound drill.
Do you want to use by games with kind of a preconceived notion of how you want to divvy up minutes, or is it all kind of feel as the game
It's
goes
kind
on?
of more feel than anything. It's kind of like in football, when you have 2 or 3 quarterbacks, you have none. You know what I mean? It's really hard. Whenever you get into these things, you're not 9-2 or 8-3 or 10-1 in football. It's really hard, but those quarterbacks haven't separated themselves, or they're pretty equal. So it's really hard for a coach. What the hell are you supposed to do? Well, in basketball, when you get to this, and now you got 3 guys you're trying to play, and you're playing minimal minutes, you're normally not going to get a whole lot from any of the 3. You should package all the minutes, play 1, but now 2 guys don't play. But with that being said, no one has separated themselves. So how do you grab one out of the fray? Some coaches just do it. They just say well, you guys didn't decide this for me, and I don't really know which way to go. I like all 3 of you. Okay, I'm going to go with Noob. And you 2 guys, you're shit out of luck. And you're just well, why? I don't know. Because no one's rebounded better than the other. No one's defended better than the other. No one's been more productive than the other. And so normally that happens, and they make the decision for you. And so now that's what we kind of need. We need that piece of it to kind of solidify where we are, because you can kind of see the guys who have started, and then you kind of look at CJ Cox. It's going to be a good role right there, right? I thought he should have played a little bit more in the game. But then Caleb doesn't play very much. Lowry doesn't play very much. And then Will, I thought, did some good things because he played a little bit more than those guys did. And it's just not fair to those guys. Like, but it's also like you got to look in a mirror because you're the ones that have had opportunities and you haven't separated yourself. And now, like Trey Kaufman-Wren has, Daniel and Will were pretty close there. But I think, you know, Daniel's ability, just kind of his ability as a lob threat, his ability as a shot blocker. But I think there's going to be games where it's tough for him, and then that's why that depth can really help us right there. But it's not ideal.
I saw a moment.
It's a
the
good
other day.
question. What's that? If you got an answer, like I'm cool with.
I mean, you get paid a lot more than I do. So there was a moment the other day. Cam missed a couple shots that are high percentage shots for him, and he seemed frustrated. Is that just the margin of error you've got to capitalize when you get those opportunities?
Yeah, my frustration with it was his 2 shots he passed up. Like, let it rip. Like, you're a 40% 3-point shooter. Like, when you take good shots, even if you miss it, you normally give us a pretty good chance to rebound too. You know, those long rebounds, you're able to get in there and get those. So, yeah, like that. Like, I'm not upset at all for him getting 2 good shots and missing it. Like, I want to encourage it. But he got a skip one time, and he didn't take it. And there was another one that I thought he should have taken. Not the worst thing in the world, right? But, like, when that's your deal, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, he's a kind of that hybrid forward, like the 3 and the 4. But, like, he's a 3 and D type guy. He's a good defender. He's a good athlete. He's a good runner. He's a good shooter. But that's his game right there. And so when it comes your way, like, you know, let it rip. Like, and I think all of our guys would say the same thing is, like, you know, take your shots. Like, you know, help your cause. It gets into a tough mix for those guys because when you, like, people want to know, like, why this guy doesn't play or that guy plays, you know, it gets to that dynamic as we play that we need ball handlers. But we also need the strengths of Miles and Cam. You saw how Miles just changed the game for us, you know, offensively. And but we need consistency. You know, we need people that are efficient on the offensive end, but also can help us defensively. Like, the ball's living in the paint way too much for us. And so, like, everybody across the board's got to do a better job of keeping the ball out of the paint.
Now that you're playing Raleigh, is there a niche that he can kind of step into? And do you feel urgency to play him to make it worth the while?
Yeah, that's the dilemma that you're in, right? He can shoot and he can post. Like, he gives us a combination that not everybody on our team has. He has the physical ability, like, to guard Ryan Kalkbrenner the other day, which was a really good sign, especially when he turns around and gets 49 points in his first game. Kind of shows you a pretty good player. And he was just in for a little bit, but he showed the ability to guard, you know, a center, and like now, like, kind of working towards guarding 4s and being able to do it. But he has a really good, he has a complete package, where not everybody on our front line has that complete package. But he doesn't have that experience, and we knew there's going to be some opportunity there, but we also knew there's going to be some games. And that's what I would really say about him and those guys on the front line is, like we need them. We need some guys to separate themselves to help the cause. But if they don't, and this continues, you know, there's going to be times where we need them, and there's going to be times where we don't. And that's just that, you know. And so, like, there could be games where he might not get in. There could be games he plays 5 to 10. There could be games he plays 10 to 15. You know, but with that being said, like, you just got to stay ready. And that was something that I really talked to him about and expressed. I said, you need to know, you know, the worst case scenario and the best case scenario, and it probably lies somewhere in between. But I don't know. Like, that's, if I knew, I would just tell him what to do. I'd say, hey, you need a red shirt, or like, hey, this is cool. We don't even need to meet. We're good. And his is circumstantial, right? It's not just always his play. It's others' play too.
There's, you know, proposals out there of taking the football model of red shirts and applying that to other sports. Would that have helped your situation here?
Yes.
Or
yeah, we've tried to do it also. Why we haven't been able to get to that point, I don't know.
So, is there any sort of explanation as to why the two sports are so different?
Guys, like, if you want to have another talk about the NCAA and the decisions that have been made, like, across the board with everything, from a portal to the name, image, and likeness, to eligibility, to recruiting, to, like, you know, I've never their area of compliance like befuddles me. How we have people that are just absolutely openly like not doing what they're supposed to do, and why we can't, you know, hold these people accountable, and why we glorify them because they win basketball games. Like it blows my mind. So
How often do you have conversations with players about their playing time?
really you have conversations with them on their production, because production leads to playing time, right? So it's like, instead of like you talking about how much you're playing, I talk about how we can get better, how we can improve. Like trust comes into it a lot. Like if like you're a big dude and you got ball screen rules, you have post defensive rules, you on other screens, like you have rules to that, like in what you do. Like how well do you rebound? How well do you keep people off the glass? How well do you offensive rebound? Do you know what you're doing? Do you know our set plays? Do you know our press offenses? Do you know what we're doing? We're attacking a zone. Like I can keep going if you need me to. So there's a lot that encompasses it, right? So like that's what we do. We watch a lot of tape. We watch a lot of individual tape, and then we try to get them to understand through time and process what they're supposed to do. And now that's their job to be able to go out there and serve that and be functional and help us win. Because what it really comes down to is what value you bring to our team. Like, do you bring a value to our team to where like I just can't take you out? Like that's what you're supposed to do as a player. Like force that coach to absolutely have to play you. Like force his ass. Like just like make it difficult as hell as you can. And be like, no, I'm living on this ground. I'm taking charges. My energy. Like we have some guys on the team that are really good dudes, man, and they play hard. Their energy is so low they don't help anybody else. They just are like, I'm just kind of in my own world. I'm just kind of here. I'm just kind of quiet, and I'm just gonna kind of not play, right? And so like bring energy. Like when you bring energy and you go out there and you compete your ass off and you know what you're doing and you bring value to our team. Like man, I can't get enough of you, because that leads to winning. And that's what it comes down to. So I don't sit back and talk about minutes as much as guys, even though I'll be like rational with them about, hey man, do you really want to do this when you're redshirt? Because you might not play or 5 to 10 minutes, or you might play more if you improve. So I break it down to them, but it's the functionality that leads to winning. It's like, man, he doesn't do this or he doesn't do this, and like I don't have a bias. Like I told our team yesterday, like I don't play Fletcher more than the other guys because I like him more than you guys. I play him because he's more productive than you guys. He's more intelligent than you guys. He actually speaks. He actually talks. He actually takes what the coach is giving and takes it to our team. Not to say that other people don't do that on our team, but we have some guys that just stay in their little lane and they stay in their little world, and you can't do that. Like you gotta, I mean, this is my passion and this is my time and this is what I put it in. Damn it, it matters. And I'm not gonna sit here and play 10 minutes when I'm more talented than somebody else. It doesn't have to do with you being more talented, it's with you being more productive. You're more talented to me, but I get more shit done than you. You gotta play me. It's not a talent world, it's a production world. That's